afternoon garage. So it's been a long time to get to this point, man. I tell you, there's been lots of work that's been done on this thing. I think I've learned a lot. As far as last week, went over those injectors, and that was a real win for me because I have a few different cars with those mechanical injectors, and it's something I've been battling for a long time, is try to figure out why the heck do these injectors always just kind of freeze up. There's no ultrasonic tank that's ever going to clean them up, and well, I figured that out. So anyway, I have a lot of injectors, spare injectors for different cars, and I even purchased 2 for this in case I have any issues. I think what I want to do is I kind of want to make sure that when I put the engine in, it's going to go in and stay in and run correctly the first time. So I don't know if you've been following me. I had another Porsche that I built, and I had something drastically wrong. It had to come back out. In fact, both of my engines that I put in had to come back out for various reasons, and I really want to try to avoid that with this because it's about 8 hours to pull it out, about 8 to put it in, and well, if I can get it right the first time, that'd be a real win for me. So here's my plan. Now that those injectors are clean, I'm going to go and clean up those intake tubes, put some ceramic coating on them, pound a new sleeve in there, and then kind of assemble that air box that we rebuilt and then tubes all together, kind of get it staged here. Then I'm going to install the fan, the shroud, all the electrical, all the tins, get everything ready to go, warm up regulator, all the fuel lines, and then I'm going to push the thing right up against the car. I'm going to run maybe a 5-foot supply and return line from the fuel tank. I'm going to rely on the fuel in the car, and then I'm going to pump the fuel throughout the system. There I can measure the pressures, the cold and hot control pressure, and also set my maximum fuel pressure. And I'm able to have all those things set before this thing even goes into the car. Another thing is I want to make sure that all the electrical's right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to probably take some of the lines and reconfigure them for other things because I'm going from a breaker point type ignition system to a trigger, and that's going to require a little bit of wiring, but I should be able to do all that on one plug. So it's really easy to put in and take out. We'll see how that works out for me. In the meantime, let's clean those intake tubes up, get them attached to the box, and I'll start putting this motor together. All right, you can see I set this air box on here now. You can see these are 4, 5, and 6. So pretty much I can mark those, and then we got 1, 2, and 3. The middle one here has the warm-up regulator on it. So what I'll do is I'll mark the back side with a scribe or something like that so I can make sure they go back right where they came from. Everything cleaned up pretty good. You can see the intake runners have no grease on them anymore, so I'm gonna paint it with a product called Cerakote. It's a ceramic coating type of thing. You can put it on at room temperature. Probably just put it on with a brush with a couple different coats. I'll probably have to well, put some rust preventative primer on this fuel distributor. I looked down in there. I'm not seeing anything. I'm smelling some terrible you know, varnish type of stuff going on there. So I think for this next step, I'll just clamp the old head to the bench, then I'll bolt that to the head. Alright, getting ready to stake these injector sleeves in here. So you can see the old ones here, they shrink back and they get real brittle. So we have a new set of new ones. The O-ring has to be purchased separately. Little silicone lube in there. And then press it all the way home, and then you have to stake the aluminum and to hold these things in. They're kind of a hard plastic. Shouldn't be too difficult. Make sure they slide it nice and easy. Stake them in there. Alright, fuel lines for that 2.7. So what you have here is this is your high pressure line there, and this is the return. Of course this gets clamped, but this is crimped except for right through here. But anyway, this rubber has just gotten really hard, and it's in fact part of it broke off here, so it's just gotten so brittle and it all needs to be replaced. Of course I'll put some new fuel injection clamps on them. But for something like this connection here, which is what you call, you know, a crimp fitting, it uses these ferrules. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but anyway, this is 5/16 hose. And what I'm going to do is I have a couple dies here that I robbed off my electrical crimper kit. And I found a couple different dies that are about the right size. And I think what I'm going to do is just kind of cut the 5/16 back, put it in there, and then slide this over and use the vise and carefully crimp the end. Yeah, I did a pretty good job of that. See, I didn't nick this metal at all. You don't want to do that, or you've destroyed the sealing surface. It's best not to even cut into the rubber at all. Well, onto the crimping.
15 minutes later. A few minutes later.
Well, now these turned out pretty good, now didn't they? So I was going to go ahead and replace the fuel injection clamps here with something a little more modern, a little more wide, and I decided to go back to the original Porsche ones. I plated them up, they look pretty good. As well as I plated this up, this goes to the accumulator here, put a clamp on it, was able to get a electrical, like a 4/0 clamp, put it in the vise, that worked pretty good. And well, this can all be had through Amazon. I think I did this for about $30, and well, this is probably about $200 with the hoses. So yay, saved a little bit of money. All right, really quickly, I kind of want to test the ignition system. I have a little bit of wiring to do since I'm going from a points type system to a trigger type system. So first thing I'm going to do is rebuild the distributor, you know, with a Pertronics type trigger. Here's what it looks like on the inside. It simplifies everything pretty much, has two wires coming out. So when I bought the car, I was given 2 ignition coils and 2 ignition amplifiers, or CDI units, whatever you want to call them. One works, one didn't. So let's try this Bosch one now. I've hooked it up with one of the older ignition coils, and let's see if it has any spark. That looks pretty good. I think I can throw this whole thing in the car. Okay, now it's time to clean up this wiring. So I got this CDI panel done. I reused the capacitor on the input power, the CDI, and also what I did was I'm switching to an internal regulator, so I don't need the black wire. So what I'm doing there is I'm actually utilizing one of the pins. Now on the 74, there is no coil output, and there's basically 2 wire harnesses. There's one for this, and there's one here, so there's 2 things to plug in. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to combine it all, so just like I did with one of my other cars, so everything is on this harness. So when you plug that in, everything will be there as far as being able to fire the coil and get the trigger signal from the distributor, which is down here. So I kind of have to take and repurpose some of these wires to make them do a little bit different thing. At the same time, this is also connected to the tack signal, so I kind of need to go down to the distributor instead of fire that off the coil now. Lots of complicated things, but you know what? If you can make it simple and wire it up so that you can reuse some of these pins to do other things, man, it makes for a really clean installation. All right, I got that wiring harness on. You know, all these tubes are done, intake manifolds on. Like I said before, I kind of want to do some testing on this thing, so, well, I don't have to put it back in and pull it back out, nor do I have to do a whole lot of work in there. The other thing I want to do is I want to flush these lines out really good with fuel all the way from the fuel tank, maybe a little bit before I screw in those injectors that are supposed to be clean. Now, even though I fixed everything to run on one plug, we won't really have to hook anything up to this engine to flow fuel through it. Just have to have kind of like a supply and a return. And then, of course, we'll use the fuel pump that's on board, flow it through the injector lines, and should be good to go. But we'll do that next time. So hey, if you get anything out of this, give me a like and subscribe if you can. I always say that, but you know, 85 to 90% of the people that watch my videos, well, they're simply not subscribed. I understand fix-it videos are kind of hard to subscribe to, but I got a pretty interesting series going on here. So hey, hit that subscribe button, really helps me out. Till next time.